You've made it. We are on the last lesson, lesson 10 of Unit 6. Lesson 10, solve two-step inequalities. This should sound very familiar to a more recent lesson about solving two-step equations. Now we are talking about inequalities. And our inequalities are less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. So look back at your notes if you need a refresher. Okay, the essential question. What are the differences between an expression, an equation, and an inequality? There are differences between these three things. So you have to know what they are for your Friday summary, and we will be highlighting some of those differences, possibly in this lesson. But you're going to have to look back at previous lessons for what is an expression, what is an equation, and what is an inequality to know the differences of those three items. All right, this should look very familiar to you. It says steps to solve two-step inequalities. This is the only thing that's changing is this word right up here, inequalities. And we have number one, locate the variable, the coefficient, and constant. So just like we have done before, these look a little bit different. Let's find out what this 2 is. This 2 right here, well, first of all, let's find the variable. The variable is right here. That is the variable. And the variable is y. So we'll say that this is the variable. We found it. Now we're going to look for the coefficient. And the coefficient is always right in front of the variable, which there is no number there, but there is a negative sign. So we know that we can add a 1 right here. And so negative 1 is the coefficient. And that leaves this plus 2 as the constant. Now we only talked about the numbers that are on the variable side. We did not talk about the 8 because this sign splits the inequality into two halves. All right, let's check the next one. This time the variable is on the right side, right here. We do know that there is a number in front of that a, so we're going to add it. It's the number 1. We can add that anywhere. And a is the variable. And negative 7, you can see this minus sign right here. With a minus sign, we can always, I'll make it a little bit longer here. You can do always additive, inverse. And negative 7 plus this a with these other numbers, negative 7 would be all alone, so it's called the constant. Hopefully you are knowing these answers before I say them. And then what is the coefficient? Well, we have a lot of things going on over here. We have a negative 1 over 2, so that's what we're going to call it. It's negative 1/2. That's the coefficient. Okay, the next step after you've located the variable, the coefficient, and the constant, you go on to number 2. You determine what operations, is it adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing, are on the variable side. So that's the side you work on. And then number 3, use inverse operations on both sides, which is called the property of equality of the equal sign. Well, there is an error right there. This should say inequality sign. So scratch that out because we're talking about inequalities. And write inequalities that may be fixed in the future. Sign to solve. Inverse means to do the opposite of. Okay, and when you're doing the inverse operations, there are steps to it. Okay, there is a first step right here. Undo addition subtraction to remove the constant. Deal with the constant first. Then, after you've taken care of the constant, then you move on to B, which is the second thing to undo. You undo multiplication division to remove the coefficient. And then finally, number 4, check your solution to see if you're if you are correct. And to do that, we use the substitution property. All right, let's go ahead and get into the we do's and do this, and then move on so you can practice. It says name the operations on the side of the variable in order of undoing them. Then list their inverses. Okay, so we have a little first right here and a second, and those are in red, just like these firsts and seconds up here. And we want to locate the variable first. It's right here. We can see that the variable, we have two things. We have a coefficient in front of it that's multiplying, and we also have a subtracting 11 over here. So we need to get rid of both numbers. And in the directions, in the steps, it says to take care of the constant first. So the constant is 11. So we're going to take this subtraction sign and do additive inverse. You don't have to do that, but this is how we learned it in the beginning. We're going to add 11 to this side, and since that makes a nice 0, we're getting rid of the negative 11. We're also going to do that to the other side to keep it equal, plus 11. What's left on the left side is only 3x. The sign comes down, and negative 20 plus 11 on a t-chart. Bring it over and subtract. We have 9. So it's negative 9. Now we have our coefficient out in front of here, and that's multiplying. So then we will use division to create a nice number 1. And that's working there, so we're going to do it to the other side. And now x is greater than or equal to a negative divided by a positive is a negative 3. These are inequalities, so we graph them. We come down here to about the middle, call it negative 3, put our point, and because it says or equal to, it is a closed point. And it says that x is greater, so greater is to the right. Now to check this, you choose any number that's greater. Let's choose 10. Okay, 10 is greater than negative 3 for sure. So put a 10 right here. Let's write that down with parentheses. The 10 goes there, plus negative 11 is greater than or equal to negative 20. Okay, so 3 times 10 is 30. And 30 plus negative 11 is 19. And is it true that 19 is greater or equal to negative 20? It is. So you know you graphed it correctly, and it's all set. Now what we didn't do are these boxes up here. So let's back up. That's my mistake. I got a little ahead of myself. We saw that we needed to take care of first the constant. Okay? So the very first thing we needed to do, the operation that we see that is subtracting 11. So we did additive, I'll write over the top of this, additive inverse. So we can see that it's adding a negative 11. Okay, so what's the inverse of adding a negative 11? What do? We added a positive 11 to both sides. And then we did to the second step. The second step's right down here. We saw that x is being multiplied by 3. Multiplied by 3. And so what did we do? We divided by 3. Divided by 3. Sorry about that. I got a little ahead of myself. But that's what goes in those boxes, so fill those in. Okay, let's use the boxes this time first. All right, so here's our variable right here. And we can see that we are adding 14, that's the constant, and we are multiplying the x by negative 2. So let's take care of the constant first, just like the first thing is up in our notes. So this is adding 14, and that's what we see is happening. So we're going to say the first thing that's happening is adding 14. Well, what's the inverse of adding 14? We are going to add negative 14. You could also subtract 14, it would work just fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and add negative 14 to both sides. Now this does create a 0, so that's good. Negative 2x comes down. The sign comes down. And negative 18 plus negative 14, Negatives plus negatives gives you more negatives. So we're going to add those together. Negative 32. All right, next we see that x is right here. It's being multiplied by negative 2, so that's what we're going to write. It's being multiplied by negative 2, and the inverse of multiplying by negative 2 is to divide by negative 2. So I'm going to divide this side by negative 2, which gives us the number 1, which we're looking for. And if it works there, we do it to the other side. X comes down, and a negative divided by a negative gives you a positive. 32 divided by 2 on a calculator is 16. But wait, do you remember our last lesson? Whenever we divide both sides by a negative, something happens to the sign. And that is to reverse it. Now let's see about graphing this. So we're going to go in the middle, call it 16. It's going to be an open circle, and x is less than, so we're going to go to the left. Now pick any number that is less than 16. 10. Or how about 0? 0 is an easy number. So go up here, and you're going to multiply negative 2 times 0. That's going to be 0, and 0 plus 14 is greater than negative 18, so it is correct. All right, 2 more we do's. You can see this x here, and there is nothing in front of it, so you know that there is a 1. Okay, so we're going to find our variable. Our variable's on the left side here. A couple things are happening to it. We are adding 31, and we are also multiplying by negative 1. So let's take care of the constant first. Plus 31. How do we make that into a 0? We add its opposite. If it works on one side, which it does, we're going to do it to the other side. And negative 1x comes down. The sign comes down. And 25 plus negative 31. We send the 25 across, and we subtract from the negative. So it's negative 6. Now we have x is being multiplied by its coefficient, negative 1. So we're going to use division here. We're going to divide by negative 1. And does that create the number 1? Yes, it does. So if it works there, we're going to do it on this side. And this is that moment that we learned in the last lesson. We are dividing both sides by a negative, so the sign reverses. And negative divided by negative is a positive. So we come down here, and this is 6. It's an open circle again, and x is greater, so it goes to the right. Now to check to see if you are right, you can pick a number that is greater than 6, which would be 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. 10 is an easy number to work with. So we go over here and put a 10, the number 10, right there. Negative 1 times 10 is negative 10. Negative 10 plus 31 is 21. And is 21 less than 25? Yes. So you know you have it right. Okay, our final you do. We locate the variable. We're going to help ourselves out here. We know that there is a 1 in front of this. We're also going to help ourselves out with this subtraction sign, and we're going to do an additive inverse. And now we can clearly see that 7 is the constant. So we're adding 7, and then we're multiplying by negative 1 over 2, negative half. Okay, so we always deal with a constant first. Get the easy one out of here. Let's change the 7 into a 0 by adding its opposite. If you do it to one side, which it's working, we do it to the other side. 43 plus negative 7, or 43 minus 7, is 36. Had to think about that for a second. Okay, bring down the sign and bring down the negative 1y over 2. All right, so now we need to get rid of the negative 1 over 2. And there's two ways to do this. You could divide by negative 1 over 2, which would create the number 1, because a negative half divided by a negative half is 1. That is a lot of work. Here's another way to do it. Multiply by its reciprocal, negative 2 over 1. If you do this, multiply negative half by negative 2 over 1, you still get 1. So that's easier. So I'm going to erase the first way and leave the second way. Since I'm multiplying by negative 2 over 1, I'm multiplying this side by negative 2 over 1. Something you need to pay attention to here, we are multiplying both sides by a negative, so that means this sign does something. It reverses. Okay? Negative 2 times a positive 36 is negative 72. And this side is y. Now, it's backwards because the variable is on the right side. So, just like we learned in past lessons, we start here and we go this way, reading backwards. Read backwards. It says y is greater than or equal to negative 72. So that's the way you write your inequality answers, with the variable in the front. Okay, go down to your graph. Negative 72. Y is greater or equal to, so it is a closed point. And y is greater, so it goes to the right. Now pick anything that is greater than negative 72. I'm going to pick 0, because 0 is bigger, and it's so easy to work with. Put 0 right here where the y is. That would be 0 divided by 2, or even 0 times negative 1 would be 0, and 0 divided by 2 is 0. So, all you have left over is 7. Is 7 less than 43? Yep. All right. So that takes care of the we-dos. We're turning now to the other side, and there are a lot to practice with here, so you can get this down. So let's do the top row kind of together, not pausing the video, but I will be kind of silent as you try them too. So let's try E first. All right, I finished. It may have been a little too quick for you, but hopefully you were trying to think through your problem without copying. All right, so this is the answer, and I did put these notes on the side over here. First, we take care of the constant. Second, we take care of the coefficient. You can see with the constant, I'm trying to make 0, And with the coefficient, I'm trying to make the number 1. Okay, those are the keys right there. Okay, then if you noticed, I multiplied both sides by a positive 2, and that makes the sign stay the same. It does not reverse. All right, let's go on to F and try it a different way this time. So where are you going to start? I'm asking you. If you're thinking, you're going to flip your paper back over to the directions and locate the variable, the coefficient, and the constant. You are on the right track. So where is the variable? It's here. Where is the constant? It's here. Where is the coefficient? Well, there is a 1 in front of the A, so the coefficient is 1/3. Which one do we get rid of first? The constant. How do you get rid of plus 6? You do the opposite. You add a -6, or you subtract 6. Either way works. Does that create a 0? Yes. Then you use the property of equality. And a negative plus negatives gives you more negatives. And now it's time to get rid of your coefficient. A is being multiplied by 1/3, so we are going to divide by 1/3, and that would give us a nice 1. Or the simpler, faster way is to multiply it by its reciprocal. That also gives us a 1. So I'm going to do the simpler way. Let's check. Does it give us 1? 3 over 1 times 1 over 3 gives us 3 over 3, which is 1. That's good. A is greater than or equal to. Since we multiplied this side by 3 over 1, we have to multiply this side by 3 over 1. And a positive times a negative is a negative, and the answer is negative 63. Now it is backwards, so we're going to start here, and we're going to read backwards. A is greater than or equal to negative 63. So now it's time to graph. Come down here. Negative 63, it is a closed point, and A is greater, so it goes to the right. Okay, this will be the last one that we do together, and then you're going to start doing them on your own, but you're going to have all of these 3 and the other side as examples. So you flipped your paper back over, and it says locate the variable, locate the constant, locate the coefficient. So the variable is right here. We have a subtraction sign, so we're going to use the additive inverse. There is a 1 right here in front of the r, so that's negative 1/3. That would be the coefficient. And then what's the constant? It's plus 8. All right, so what do we do with this plus 8? That is the constant. That's where we start. And we can subtract 8, or you can add a negative 8. Subtract 8 on this side. That does give you a 0 right there. But if you did add a negative 8, like this, it still gives you a 0. So either way is just fine. So 7 plus negative 8 is negative 1. We bring down the negative 1 r over 3. And now we need to get rid of negative 1/3. So we're going to multiply by its reciprocal, negative 3 over 1. That gives us a nice number 1 right here. R is left by itself. And since that's working, we're going to multiply the other side by the same, negative 3 over 1. And a negative 1 times a negative 3 is a positive 3. Now, hopefully you're catching on here that we just multiplied both sides by a negative. So something happens to the sign. It reverses to make it true again. So this is 3. It is a closed point, and r is less than. So since 0 is less than, that's a perfect number to use to check your answer. All right, there are 9 left. And I'm going to have you pause the video and do H now. So go ahead and pause and try it on your own. You got to test yourself to see if you own this knowledge or you're just renting it. Pause the video. Okay, how did you do? Did you get x is greater than 3? Did you pay attention that you divided by a negative here and that sign reverses? Or maybe you may have made a mistake and did the wrong thing at first. You didn't take care of the constant. Okay, so check what you did. If it's wrong, erase your work and write it down correctly and learn from your mistakes. Then, try I. Pause the video now and give it a shot. Okay, here's I. This was another reversing the sign because we multiplied both sides by a negative during the property of equality. Okay, really check into yours and see if you made any errors, fix them, and make sure you're learning from your mistakes. You can always use these in the future ones here coming up. So pause the video and try J now. Okay, again, check out the work. See if you're getting it right. At this point, you may want to be flipping your paper back and forth, following the steps, or possibly even raising your hand and getting some extra assistance in the classroom. All right, let's move on to K. Pause the video and try K now. Okay, we are back with K. Take a look, make your corrections. Hopefully you're getting them right. Now again, ask for help. You only have 5 left to get this down. Pause the video and try L now. All right, here is your L. The answer is 43 is an open circle and going to the right. Remember this, you need to read backwards when your variable is on the right side of your inequality. All right, it's time for M. Pause the video, try it out. Okay, check out M. It is 6 and it is a closed point going to the right. This one was a reverse of the sign because we divided both sides by a negative right here during the property of equality. Okay, last row. So I'm going to have you pause and you're going to do N, O, and P all together at one shot. And then when you come back on, unpause the video, you will see all of the answers and the work. And you got to see if you're doing it right or not. If you're not doing it right, we got to get you there. Okay, so ask questions. Make sure you're using your notes. Pause the video and look at all the past examples to get these help so you can get these right. Pause now. Okay, here are your last 3, N, O, and P. You'll want to pause the video now and really examine these in comparison to how you did them. Hopefully you had a little 100% streak on these 3. If not, we need to make sure that you are good to go with this. All right, after pausing the video and really looking through these, maybe even erasing, correcting, finding your errors, or raising your hand to get extra help during this time, make sure you do that. All right, and now we're going to move into the test readiness check. Remember, these types of problems come up on your tests in different fashions, like quizzes, unit tests, state practice tests, and finals. So go ahead and try Q now. Q just says to simplify. And do you see anything with having to equal signs or inequalities? No, this is an expression. So be careful when you work on this. Pause the video and try Q now. Okay, hopefully you got negative 6d plus 12 and that you did not add these together because they are not like terms. That is as far as you can go. Negative 6d plus 12. All right, now it's time for R. R is a story, and you have to choose the right inequality that matches the story. So be very careful as you're reading it. Highlight things in the paragraph that will help you know what you're looking for. Pause the video and try R now. All right, let's see how you did. I'll use a highlighter to highlight what's important. It says Riker received $40 refund from Home Depot. So that's how much money he has. And you can see down here, every one of these has a 40. Okay, so that's how much money he has as a refund, and he used the refund to buy a new saw blade for $26.70. So you can see that each of these has a $26.70 in the front. They're all positives because this is a positive amount that he has to pay for. Now, let's talk about the signs. The signs here down the center, since he has $40 to spend, he got a refund of $40. Can he spend the $40? Yes, he can definitely spend it. Can he overspend the $40? No, he cannot. So you see this sign right here? That means that this side is more than, he's going to spend more than the $40 that he has. That's not possible because he only got $40 in refund. This one also says that this side is more than 40. That's not possible either. So it's between these two. These two right down here says that this side, the left side of the inequality, he has to spend less than or equal to the $40 refund. D also says less than or equal to the $40 refund. So you are looking only at C and D. Okay, now which one is right? Let's keep reading. He will use what is left for carpenter pencils. Each pencil costs $1.25. So we have a difference here of subtraction and addition. So additionally, he bought the saw blade. In addition to buying the saw blade, he's also buying pencils for $1.25 per pencil. He's not subtracting that amount. He's buying it. He's buying more. So he's adding more cost to his purchase. So D is correct. Hopefully you chose D. Then it says, which inequality describes the situation? We did that. It's D. How many pencils did he buy? So you got to use this one. Hopefully you use the right one. And you set it all up. Okay, this is just like what we learned today. This problem has a variable, it's P. It has a coefficient of $1.25, and it has a constant plus $26.70. So we'll get rid of the constant first by adding a negative $26.70, or subtract $26.70. Always use a T-chart, especially when you're using decimals and even fractions. 40 is on the positive side, the 2670 is on the negative side. Obviously, you're going to move this one over. You'll line up the decimals. Where is the decimal on the 40? Right behind it. There's your pennies. So to subtract, borrow from here. You might do subtraction different than I. That's a 10. So that's going to be a 0, that's going to be a 3 and a 1. So $13.30. Okay, that was a 0 right there. Okay, so now we have our coefficient to deal with, so we are going to divide by $1.25, and that creates the number 1, and we'll divide this side by $1.25 as well. So in a calculator, you'll put in $13.30 divided by $1.25. And the answer on my calculator screen is $10.64. So P is less than or equal to $10, or not $10, that'd be 10 pencils and 64 hundredths of a pencil. So we can't have a pencil like that. So what's the official answer? How many pencils did he buy? He has to buy equal to 10. Or what? Or less. That's how many carpenter pencils he can buy. All right, that's a real question right there, like on your test coming up next week. All right, now it's time for T. It says to distribute. Notice there is no equal sign and no inequality. It's called an expression. Pause the video and try it now. Okay, I'm here to help you think this thing through. That negative 1/3 is going to multiply everything inside the parentheses, not just the first term, but the second term as well. So I've put my little arcs right here. And this first problem is negative 1/3 times negative 6c. So negative 1/3 times negative 6c. I'll help myself out by making negative 6c into a fraction. And then I'll just multiply straight across. A negative times a negative gives me a positive, and 1 times 6 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. And 6 divided by 3 is 2. I'll put the c back in front or behind it. So that my first problem is 2c. Now I'll do my second one. Negative 1/3 times 12. Negative 1/3 times 12 as a fraction, 12 over 1. This is a negative times a positive, so I know my answer is going to be a negative. 1 times 12 is 12, and 3 times 1 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4, so my answer is negative 4. You can write the answer like this, or the pro way is 2c minus 4. Either way is the correct answer. Now for you, solve and graph. So this is what we have been doing in this lesson. So you're going to have to pause the video, and you can use your notes to get this done right. Pause now. Okay, here's your answer. Did you get an open circle going to the left, marked as negative 3? Take a look at the work here. This problem is almost identical to a problem on your test coming up next week. Pause the video and try V, your last one. Pause now. All right, and here's the last one, V. The problems look very similar to each other. They do have different inequality signs, this one and this one. Those are different. And this 4 was a positive, and this 4 was a negative. And look what happened. Because we had to divide both sides by a negative, the sign reversed. So make sure you're watching for that.